Welcome to BIA, Canada's top black media provider. Whether you're looking for shows on fashion, art, music, or simple lifestyle, we bring you the best content the black community in Canada has to offer and so much more. And better yet, do you have an idea for a project you'd like us to help you with? We provide equipment, studio, and office space, as well as a team of dedicated individuals to help you bring those ideas to life. So don't wait. Check out our new website at biamedia.ca for more information on how to contact us and start creating today. BIA Media, your way.
What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations. And I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also host the only online conversation in the world for dads and fathers that's sponsored by Dove Men Care and also co-sponsored by Dad Central, Canada's national fatherhood organization. And as part of that team last year, we were able to reach out to over 100,000 dads and fathers around the world. I'm very humbled to be part of that and blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles and a solution for someone's problem. We're broadcasting live on January 9th, and it's getting colder here in Toronto, but we are got hot guests, always, or hot friends coming on, hot in the good sense, on Black Canada Talking. And if you don't know what Black Canada Talking is about, or if you do know what it's about, it's a live online event that provides Black Canadians the opportunity to give their takes and POVs on stories that are of importance to them. And also we showcase Black Canadians that you should know about, whether you're in Canada or outside of Canada. We have another new friend on today. So let me give a little backstory. I'm blessed to have a lot of conversations with different people. And, you know, when I'm looking for certain things, I ask people in my circle, in my environment. And when I ask for certain things in a specific area, this person's name comes up consistently over and over and over again. I said, okay, we have to get her on one of my platforms. So we're blessed to have her on Black Canada Talking today, but it took a long time because she has so much going on in a positive way. The friend we have on today is Andrea Henry. Let me give you some backstory. She is a Cambridge-educated business lawyer. Yes, Cambridge educated lawyer with over a decade of experience working with business owners at every stage of the entrepreneurial journey. Having seen way too many of her fellow Canadian entrepreneurs take unnecessary risks and miss out on killer opportunities because they don't have the right legal advice, she decided to start her own firm, Henry Business Law, and her e-commerce contract template site, the securestartup.ca, to help more people confidently create the business of their dreams. So right there, I know there's a lot of people, entrepreneurs, Black Canadian entrepreneurs, that forget or don't know where to go for legal advice. We have the person today for you. Here, even more important, she's a mom of 3 and a breast cancer survivor who has built thriving businesses in 3 years since her shock diagnosis. She enjoys reading dystopian fiction and long walks among the trees. Well, you know what? It's about that time. It's long overdue. Let's have Andrea Henry as part of the Black Canada Talking family. Welcome, Andrea. How are you doing?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to get into conversation today.
Yes, because I've heard your name for so many years. And I was getting tired of hearing your name and not interviewing you or having a conversation with you.
everything at the right time.
Yes, and you come with such high praise from everyone who I've heard your name from.
That is very kind. That's always amazing to hear. Thank you.
You know, and I'm referring people to her, and I haven't even met her yet. So that tells you how much high praise I'm getting about her. So I'm looking forward to an epic conversation today, as always, with our new friends on the Dr. Vibe Show. Tell us about the younger Andrea growing up. What was life all about then?
Yeah. So I was born in Canada, but spent most of my childhood in Barbados. So if you're picking up an accent, that's where it's from.
We love it.
My parents decided to move to Edmonton from Barbados, which was an interesting choice. And a few years in, my father decided he had enough of the Edmonton winters. We moved back to Barbados when I was 5. And I was a kid who really loved books. I was raised as an only child. Um, wasn't really a big people person when I was little, but I loved books. And books were a way that I could experience different cultures and different places, even though I couldn't get to it. And I was always fascinated by culture. So before law was ever a possibility, I actually wanted to be an anthropologist because
Whoa.
I was just fascinated by, different societies and cultures. But I also don't like insects. And when I thought about it, a lot of the anthropologists that I knew
Yeah,
had
that's not a
gone
good fit. Not a good
they'd
fit.
gone and spent time in the jungle. I was like, yeah, maybe not, maybe not. But I also like reading and I loved writing. And so the suggestion was made, you like that, and you also kind of like to argue a little bit. Law's a good, law's a good fit. And so that's how I got into it.
So the love for reading,
Yeah.
did that come organically from you, or was that something that your parents and your community helped you get passionate about?
Yeah, I mean, my dad is also a voracious reader, but it was never pushed. We just always had lots of books in the house. There was always conversation about the books that my parents were reading. My mom's a teacher, and so she made learning fun. I mean, that has made such a big difference in the fact that my mom was a teacher. And so I remember as a very little girl, kind of just hanging out with her on the sofa, and she'd be giving me words, and I'd be giving her the opposites, or like creating stories from scratch. My mom still has plays that I wrote when I was like 6 or 7. She's never.
Excuse me. Hold on a second. You did what or six at
I
six
mean,
and
not
seven?
plays that would be, people would actually perform,
Yeah.
but my version of
Yeah.
plays. But yeah, I think it was just a really rich literary household. So it was never a you've got to read or you have to read this certain number of books. It was just something that came about. Also, I grew up in the 80s before internet. We had one channel. I wasn't an
Mm,
outdoorsy kid or really that into sports. So like
yes.
that was kind of the only other thing that piqued my interest.
Wow. So education, reading foundation, uh, was school fairly easy for you? Well, I'm not talking about university yet, but high school,
Yeah.
public school, was that an easy thing for you?
Yeah. So the Caribbean education system is very much based on your ability to remember, right? So
Yes.
it's been interesting because my children obviously are going to school here in Canada, and it's really been interesting seeing the difference. So here there is much more of a focus on like innovation and coming up with your own ideas, not so much in the Caribbean. But I had a good memory. I had a near photographic memory when I was growing up. So school was relatively easy. Yeah.
So when did you arrive in Canada? Because you were in Edmonton, you went
Yeah.
back to Barbados. When did you come back to Canada and under what circumstances?
Yeah, so I came back when I was 23. So I left Barbados when I was 18 to go to Cambridge. And then I also spent 2 years in Paris. I have a degree in French law that I've never used, but so I spent 2 years in Paris. And then when all of that was over, I came back to Canada. And it's funny because when I came back, I actually wasn't sure that I was going to practice law. I've always been really
Mm.
interested in business and finance. I had done internships in investment banking when I had been in school.
Wow.
And I found that really interesting. But I graduated just around the same time that all the Enron, just after 9/11, and then and like there were
Yes.
no jobs available. And so I came back and I sort of had to, like, I sat on my brother's couch for a few months, just trying to figure out what it is I wanted to do. I did some like some investment relations things. I did some PR. And I found that I was still drawn to the law and I was still drawn to like
Mm.
advice around that. And I was like, okay, let me go back and do what I studied for.
And I want to regress back because
Yeah.
Cambridge.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Oh my
Like,
goodness. Can I
there's a
tell you the story?
yeah, but because before we got on live, I told Ms. Henry, when's the autobiography? When's the documentary series? Because forget the law stuff, all this other stuff. Oh my! But how did the Cambridge thing happen?
Yeah. So really by my dad. And this is why. So in the Caribbean system, when you're applying to UK universities, you have a choice of 5 universities. You have to go through something called a UCAS clearing. You've got 5 universities. And I had chosen 4. And Cambridge was not one of them. And I literally just had an empty slot. And my dad said, why don't you try it? And I was like, I'm not going to get into Cambridge. Like, I didn't know anyone who had been. He's like, yeah, what's the worst that could happen? The worst that could happen is that they'd say no. So I was like, okay. So I applied. And then you have to go for an interview. And at the time, my dad wasn't working. My mom was the only one working. And they were like, we don't have the money to send you to England for the interview. And my grandmother, God rest her soul, literally did like a Medea thing, reached into her bra and took out the money and
You're
was like,
kidding me.
here, beloved. And I bought my
Oh
ticket,
my
went for the
goodness.
interview, and got in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is your grandmother still alive?
She is not. She passed in 2018.
My condolences. So I want to
you.
give her homage. What were some of the things that she instilled in you other than keeping money in her brassiere?
So the importance of education. So my grandmother was a brilliant person. I always say, had she been born in another era, she would have been a multimillionaire. She had a great business sense. But she was one of 5. Her family was poor. She didn't have an opportunity to go to high school. And so she left school at 11. She worked as a cook in a rich white lady's house. And she had my mom, and she insisted, like, she made sure that my mom went to the best possible schools that she could on the island. And so we went from maid to teacher to lawyer and business owner in 2 generations. And that is solely due to my grandmother's love for her family and always pushing us to do better and the focus on education, using that to improve yourself and your lot in life.
What was her name?
Rosalind Elizabeth Maitland.
Well, we hail her up. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for asking about it. She's
No,
very dear to me.
Yeah, I can tell, I can feel it. Fantastic. So where were you? And do you remember the moment you got accepted into Cambridge?
Yeah, so they give you a conditional acceptance, right? So they're like, we'll accept you once you get your results. And so that was, I think I'd gone for the interview maybe like November of the previous year. And then the results, I had the exams and the results weren't out until like August. And I remember just being like, I, did my best for the exams. And my mom, who's a teacher, had lots of contacts with the Ministry of Education. I think it's long enough that I can tell the story. She won't get in any trouble now. But she had her little like connects inside. So as soon as the results came back, even before there were public knowledge, her friends told her that I'd gotten all A's in my A levels. And so she came to me, and I remember I was lying down on her bed, just taking a nap. And she said, you did it. You did it. You did it. She woke me up, and it was a great moment to see the like the payoff for all of the hard work.
Yeah.
And then I'm just really happy that my grandmother could see it, right? Like she was
wonderful.
Everyone in her church was talking about it. Like it was a big deal in the community.
Nice.
So it was really great to see that effort and that sacrifice, and for her to be able to see the fruition of that.
Wonderful. What was education at Cambridge like, and what did it feel like graduating?
Yeah, education was hard. So as I said before, in the Caribbean, it's very much on the basis of what you can remember, how effectively you can do exams. And in Cambridge is where I really learned to analyze. But the first, 6 to 7 months were hard. I was on the phone with my dad every day going, I can't do this. This is too hard. I'm coming home.
And what was his response?
He was like, just tough it out. Just go to the end of the term. If you're at the end of the term and you still feel it's really bad, then we can have a conversation. But, just tough it out for the the first term. And it was actually an American tutor who was up there who said, look, you have to learn how to, your brain has to change. You have to learn how to look at things differently. And she really helped. And from the time I was able to make that switch, it became a lot more fun. And it was interesting because we had people who were at the top of their field, but they wanted you to challenge them. They wanted you to ask questions and challenge the interpretations that they had of the law. So it was really a rich academic environment. I'm really very fortunate to have gone. You couldn't hide because the small group sessions, so I've gone to other universities, small group sessions are like, 15 to 20 people, maybe the 30 people if you're at UFT. There were 3 to 4 people in our small group sessions, sometimes 2. So you couldn't hide, right? You had to do your work. You had to come prepared. You couldn't hide, and you were going to be challenged. And so it was an amazing experience. And the campus is beautiful. My dad visited, and he was like, if I had come here, I definitely would have studied harder. It's a really conducive environment for learning. And then Paris was really interesting. I worked a little bit less hard, I'll be honest, in Paris because there were lots of distractions, right? I love food, and Paris is a great place for food and wine and history. So, but that was interesting too because of the different education system there. So I'm really fortunate to have had that experience. And I knew that I wanted to do part of my education outside of Canada because I figured this is where I would spend, the vast majority of the rest of my life. And I wanted to have that experience while I was young of having something different.
Great. When you were in Paris, when did you know it was time to come to Canada? Was there a moment?
So I'd like to be able to say that there was a really big, philosophical moment.
Right.
The truth is, I broke up with my boyfriend in England and was like, I'm going.
Okay, all right. See, people getting the real deal here. We'll get to the law down the road, but we're getting some of the real stuff here.
Yeah, I'm not going to hide. So so it turned out to be an amazing decision, but it wasn't spurred by any, philosophical epiphany at that point.
And when you landed in Canada, did you already have a game plan?
Not really. As I said, I spent the first 3 months I think I was also a little burned out, right? So Cambridge was amazing, but it was also hard, right? You're very much on your A game. And you come from an environment where I was the top student at my school all along. And when you go to Cambridge, you are at school with everyone else there was the top student at their school. Yeah. So it's very competitive. And I think I just needed some time to kind of relax and not have to think and not be competitive. Yeah. So I did that for about 3 months. I enjoyed summer. That was the summer that we had the huge blackout on the East Coast, if anyone remembers.
Yes, I remember that.
And SARS. So I was like, I don't know about this. SARS and the blackout, did I make the right decision? But no, so I didn't have a game plan. And for the first year or so that I was there, I worked to be able to support myself, but I didn't have a huge game plan. And I'll say this, and I'm really happy that I was able to launch my own firm because law never felt welcoming to me, right? So I'd done, summer placements. I'd had the opportunity to speak to, some of the really top class lawyers. And I just never felt that I was going to be able to be myself. I didn't see a lot of people that looked like me. And those who looked like me were very, law is a very conservative, traditionally white and male.
Yes, white and male, yes.
I have a friend who says the legal profession is pale, male, and stale.
Oh, shame. But true at times.
Right?
Yes.
True at times. And so I didn't really feel myself reflected there. And I didn't think, while I loved law and loved helping people, I was like, where am I going to find a firm where I can feel comfortable? And that kind of stopped me from pursuing it initially.
Nice. And DJ Starchild, 969 says many blessings and respect to you. And fantastic. So when did the passion come to start your own firm? Because obviously you're saying, you know what, I'm not liking what I'm in. Yeah. Where did that passion come to start your own?
Yeah. So I have 3 kids. After my youngest was born, I started going to some of the mom entrepreneur groups, just to kind of see what I was going to do while I was on maternity leave. And what I noticed was there were never any other lawyers there. And I
Mm.
was speaking to women, a lot of Black women and other women of color who had great businesses or great business ideas. And a lot of the stuff that was holding them back was the lack of access to good legal advice. And when I asked people why they weren't working with a lawyer, I thought that the answer I was going to get was that it's too expensive. I thought that was going to be the main answer. And I got that sometimes, but that was not the majority. The majority of it was similar to what I had felt. The profession didn't feel welcoming. People were talking down to them and being condescending. People weren't taking the time to, to understand their business. And they were kind of dismissing them as not serious business owners.
Right.
And that's when I realized, okay, these are my people and these are who I need to serve. And that was the impetus to start my own firm.
I like that. Find the need and fill it. Don't find the need and kill it.
Yep. I like that. I'm going to write that down.
That so fantastic. So you have this idea, you found your market niche. What was your next step?
I borrowed money from one of my mom's friends. I did a business plan. I was like, this is what I think is going to happen. This is the size of the market. This is where I think it's being underserved. But I need some startup capital. I need to buy some office furniture. I need to, and I need the first few months
Sure.
while I'm not going to be working or not going to be necessarily earning that much of an income. And she was like, yeah, sounds like a great idea. And that was it. I started doing lots of networking, and I am an introvert, right? Like I love nothing more than to be in my room with a book. But I had to learn how to network. And the way how I was able to do that, so people who are naturally very gregarious, such as yourself, find it easy to talk to lots of people. I don't. So what I learned was if I approached it from the point of service and if I approached it from the point of trying to make a genuine connection. So when I went to networking events, it wasn't trying to like hand out my card to as many people or even ask people for business. It was there's got to be one or two people here who I can vibe with. And let me just find those people and let me find out if there's anything that I can do to help them. And then I would follow up, right? Like I had very little marketing budget. So my marketing was I would go to these events and then I would follow up. And I would follow up with a card and brownies because I like to bake. And so I would send
Oh, so
people
oh,
sharing
thank
all the
you.
secrets.
I know what I'm
Yeah.
going to be asking for. Okay.
And it was a way to kind of stand out in people's minds. And I think it was
Yes.
also because I wasn't trying to do a hard sell. I really, as I said, I've always been fascinated by business. I love working with entrepreneurs because entrepreneurs are the people that move the world forward, right? Like every time I have a new client and they're like, okay, so what I plan to do is, and I'm like, what are we doing? What are we doing now? I'm so excited because there's always some new thing, right? Some new
Yes.
market that someone hasn't thought of or some way of doing things that someone hasn't thought of before. So I was genuinely interested in people's businesses. And I think people felt that
Yes.
and wanted to work with someone who was as excited about their business as they were. And so that's how it got started.
I absolutely love it because I really emphasize with entrepreneurs, don't be transactional, be relational.
Absolutely. 100% agree with that.
That's so because if someone sees it, I can imagine, I'm sure you get stories from potential clients and current clients of previous experiences
Oh,
they've
yeah.
had with people in your profession. And because you have the passion, you care
Yeah, exactly.
because
And that's the
you want to
difference.
see them win.
That's it. I want to see them win. I work mostly with entrepreneurs who don't come from a long family history of entrepreneurship. So, women, people of color, people who have traditionally been excluded from it. I want to live in a world, and I want my children to live in a world where more of us have economic power. Like, I just think that world's going to be better, right? So, when you give money to women and people of color, we reinvest it in our communities. Like, we do good things with it. We don't fly off to space for 10 minutes, right? So,
Mm.
I very much want to see us win. One, because I do, like, want to see other people win, and also because that's the world that I want to live in. And so, this is my little way of helping to contribute to that.
So which one of the two entities started first? The business law or the
Henry
start?
Business Law. Henry Business Law started first. And then
Okay.
the secure startup. So Henry Business Law started in 2018. And then I launched the secure startup right at the beginning of the pandemic in 2020, March 2020, right as everything was going into lockdown. But it grew out of, so for many years, I had heard clients who weren't quite at the stage where they necessarily needed one-on-one legal work or who had the resources to invest. And they were like, well, we need something. And people were buying templates from the States, which are completely
Oh,
not useful for Canada. And I was like,
no.
why are you doing this? And they're like, well, there's nothing available in Canada. And initially I was very resistant. I was like, no, you should come to a lawyer. And over time I was like, there's no point just being upset at it. Like try to find the solution. And
Solution to their
so
problem.
that's it, right? So the secure startup grew out of that. Some of the key things that I had an issue with online templates were they weren't for Canadians. So these are specifically designed for Canadians. They weren't industry specific because if you're running a business as um, a videographer is different from a coach, is different from a salon owner. Your industry has really specific needs. And I found that a lot of the templates out there were just really generic. And what might be useful for one business is not useful for the other. So I wanted them to be industry specific. And I wanted them to come with guides. Because if you just have a template and you don't know how to fill it out, you're actually sometimes in a worse situation because you feel that you've got this solid contract and you don't really. If you've got time, I want to give you a really quick story.
No, no, no. This is
We're
your
good.
show. Go ahead, man. We're just steering the ship. You're giving knowledge bombs and doing a master class. So go for it.
So I have a client who, these co-written books, right? Like a chicken soup for the soul, that type of
Yes.
model.
Yeah.
So she was an author, a lead author in one of these books, and she had other lead authors with her who were not happy with the publishing company. The publishing company had promised that they were going to do all kinds of marketing and they weren't. So they wanted to leave and do their own thing. Now, the publishing company had required them to sign an independent contractor agreement that had been
I,
downloaded from the internet. And I knew
I,
this because you could see it at the bottom. You know where this is going? So the independent contractor agreement said, you can't solicit any employee of the company to come work with you. The issue is the company had no employees. It only had independent contractors. So they
oh,
solicited their little hearts out. The publishing company sent a cease and desist. And I was like, if you're able to show me where in your contract they're not able to solicit other contractors, then they'll stop. Otherwise, too bad, so sad. This person lost about half of their business
oh,
because of not
oh.
having that clause. And had she had something that was for her industry, or that had a guide that said, hey, are you using employees? If you're using employees, use this clause. If you're using independent contractors, use this clause, right? If you have people who are part-time, if you have volunteers, if you use student interns, this is the type of language. If she'd had that, they wouldn't have been able to group together and compete against her. And so I really wanted to have something that solved those problems. And that's where the secure startup came from.
Wow. So if our producer can put those links up on the screen again, we'll put them up a little later, but I want everyone to see them now also
Yeah.
as much as possible. Tell me about, now correct me if I'm wrong, you've only been at it for 3 years, is that correct?
I've been called as a lawyer since 2007, but I've had my own firm for 3 years. Yeah.
Okay. Tell us about the early days.
I've repressed them. No, I just we were actually, I think because I had done my homework and because I was very intentional about who I wanted to serve, I didn't take on everyone, which is really difficult when you're starting and you've got all the bills piling up. But I didn't take people that I didn't feel a good connection with. I didn't take, family and immigration and other types of things. I really wanted to focus on staying true to entrepreneurs. And I think that really helped because I got to be known a lot more rapidly in entrepreneurial circles. So I hit 6 figures in the first year.
Okay, say that again.
I hit 6 figures in the first year of Henry Business Law.
How did that feel when that moment hit?
It was amazing. And that was the year that I was going through my cancer treatment.
How
So
come
it was
you
a
like?
really
How come you life's so easy?
it's that there's cancer.
Like I was going. How are we going to fit it in the cancer? You just dropped it, but how were you
Yeah.
able to? I'll parking lot that question till later because
Okay.
so you 6 figures first year.
Yeah.
Was that something you visioned?
Definitely not. Definitely not. At the end of the year, when I realized, like, I was in a bit of shock, and I prayed and I was thankful to God, and I did a little happy dance and
Yeah.
got down to planning for 2019. Actually, went to my bank manager. I was like, "Hey, look, see this happened. Can we get some help? We want to expand."
Oh, so they've started paying attention to you then?
They started paying attention
Yeah. What a
after.
thing, eh?
Yeah. So,
Wow.
but yeah, I really do think, and I will say this, and I'm not a coach, I'm not, promoting any one person, but I have found mentorship, coaching, like the advice of people who have gone before you and who sometimes can see things that you cannot has been invaluable. And I think one of the reasons why the business has done so well in such a short space of time is because of my willingness to invest, right? Like, I've invested in coaching, invested in media and marketing. Like, you have to be willing to believe in your dreams. If you think
Mhm.
you've got an amazing idea and your business is going to go, you have to be willing to kind of put your money where your mouth is.
And your
And so
actions.
that's it. Yeah. Well, this is the thing. Committed money will help you get your actions in gear really quickly.
Mm,
I found. I'm a
wow.
kind of a there's some people, and I'm not people have different ways of doing things. There's some who need to plan and have everything saved and have a very, very clear step by step. I'm a I'm going to decide to do it, and I believe that the resources and the people and what I need will come to me. But I need to make the decision that this is what I'm going to do.
Wow. Well, I'm already asking for a part two, but we'll see. This is amazing. No, this is fantastic to share your journey, your thought process. Let me ask. There's one or two ways I can go. Okay, let's go. Let's continue on this path.
Okay.
Since you started your own practice, what was the biggest obstacle you've had to overcome? If you're comfortable sharing it.
Yeah. It's been an ongoing challenge to decide or to find, I don't like balance, but to find an appropriate way of being an ambitious businesswoman and being a present mother. And sometimes my
Mm,
business gets more of my attention, and sometimes my children get more of my attention. And it's a kind of a constant, a constant back and forth. I have found that challenging. Like, I'm doing this for them, but I also don't want to miss out on their childhoods. I don't want them to have the only memory of me being mommy was
yeah,
working.
yeah.
So that's why it's become so the first year or two, in the business, and like you're just head down, and now my
Grind.
focus, you're just grind, right? It's hustle and grind
Mhm.
24/7. And now I've become really obsessed with systems and team.
Process,
Process.
processes,
Process will
processes.
save your life. At least it
Yep.
saved mine. And so it allows me to do a lot more in less time. I've also become less control, like less of a control freak, and like allow people, once I've trained them and once they understand the process and once I have confidence in them, allowing people to, to be in their own zone of genius and to do things in the business without me having to look at everything. The best feeling that I've had, so I have an associate lawyer who started last year, March, and I took some time off over the summer. And I was on
You're
Instagram.
human? You're human?
Yes. So
Go go
I took some time off, and I was on Instagram, and I saw these clients who had given us a shout out on Instagram, and they were like, "We just incorporated. We have an amazing experience, customer service, 110%." And you know what was amazing about that, Dr. Vibe? I had never spoken to these people. I'd been on vacation. My team had spoken to them. My team had serviced them in a way that was consistent with our systems, because my systems are all about the client journey. Like, what do I want clients to feel? I want people to feel seen, heard, respected, and safe. And so everything that we have in our systems is intended to create that feeling. And it was very like, it was one of the best feelings to know that I could leave and not have eyes on it and not be working in it. And people were having the same experience. And so that's what I chase now, more of how I can do that.
Yeah, I can relate to what you're saying. A quick story, and I think it's somewhat to what you just shared with us.
Mhm.
There is a gentleman named Mike Schefsky. He's the gentleman who coaches the Duke basketball team in the United States.
Ah,
One of the most, he's won more college basketball games as a coach than anybody. He's coached
mhm.
Olympic teams. He's coached LeBron James, coached the late Kobe Bryant. So many people respect this man. In a number of years, I had a chance to hear him talk. And he spoke for 3 hours. He only spoke 15 minutes about basketball.
Okay.
The rest of the time was about dynamics, leadership, etc. And someone asked a question that I've never heard this answer given before.
Mhm.
Someone asked him, Coach K, when do you know you've done a good coaching job? And he says, when my players are coaching each other, I know I've done a good coaching job.
Yeah. That's
So
deep.
similar
Yeah.
to what you just said to your story, your team together made that happen. You had
Yeah.
nothing to do with it.
That's it.
You made that, you created the environment and they ran with it.
Exactly. And that is the real feeling of satisfaction and accomplishment and like, okay, more of that. And you create, like, I really have tried hard to create the workplace that I wish existed when I was first out of school, right? A place where you don't feel like you have to hide who you are, where you can bring your whole self to the table, where you don't have to fit into any particular traditional environment, and where you will be entrusted with, with important stuff, and where you'll be able to work in your own zones of genius. So that's my constant thing now as the business grows and I'm doing more, spending more time in the CEO type of task. It really becomes the spotlight on the team, and how can I make the team, more effective, more efficient, happier, more satisfied, more, engaged in what they're doing. My focus is on that, because if they are feeling great and they are
Yes.
starting to coach each other, to use the
Yes.
story, then
Yep.
they will take excellent care of my
Yep.
clients and my business.
Again, another quick story. There's a gentleman who I really respect in the United States. His name is Marcus Lemonis.
Mhm.
He was on a show for a number of years called The Prophet. He also is the CEO of an organization called Camping World, which is a big outdoor company
I
in the
know a
United
Camping World.
States.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he believes when people say who's the most important person in the business, a lot of people say the customer. He says for him, the most important person is his employees.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So just mirroring what you just said,
Mhm.
absolutely fabulous. So let me ask you, what's the most frustrating thing you have to deal with these days, CEO?
Oh gosh, the list. What's the most frustrating thing I have to deal with? Honestly, that's probably it. When I first started, it was just me. And so everything that happened in my business, I did. And as the team has grown larger, as I had assistants, it would still be mostly me, right? And so some of the frustration is probably not the right word, but the challenge has been in ensuring that my clients and potential clients can see that, hey, this is the framework that I follow. I've now trained other people on this framework. Everyone's going to have the same consistent experience, but you're not necessarily in every case going to spend the whole experience with me. And that is a work in progress in making sure that we can communicate that effectively. And also that I can stop myself from reaching back in and taking
Yes.
tasks
Yes.
that I supposedly delegated, right? So
Yeah.
and my team knows, and I've told them, like, if I'm doing it, you are free to say, Andrew, I thought that I had this, right? Because
Nice.
I'm learning how to let go as well. So I say that's the area where I'm really being pulled to grow.
What do you love most about what you do these days?
When I hear client successes. So a client sent me, let's see if I can find it. It was an Instagram. A client sent me a DM the other day, and she said, sometimes I look at my life and I'm like, how did my life get to be this awesome? And then I think, oh yeah, Andrea, which is not true. It really is her. But I'm happy that people think that I've had that impact. This is a client who I met her maybe the first year when I had launched, and she wasn't even a client at the time. She was thinking about leaving her job because she was complaining the whole night about the job, and I was like, hey, this is a fixable problem, right? Like you can leave this job and do something that you really want. And 6 months later, she called to say, that she'd followed the steps and she'd left. And she just brought on 5 additional people in her practice. She is growing at an
Wow.
amazing rate, is home every night for her children. That was one of her big complaints in her previous job. She wasn't having enough family time. So that makes me happy, right? When I see successes, and I see not just successes like financially, but like the fact that people are able to take time off, like genuinely take time off from their business because of the frameworks that we help them put in place, or that their children are happy because every Friday night now is movie night and mom's not on the computer, because now there are systems and contracts and team in place that can take care of those things. That's the most rewarding thing to me.
Okay. What is the best piece of advice anyone has ever given to you or given you?
So I've received a lot of good advice over the years.
Well, you can pick one.
The most kind of mind altering was from a coach who said to me, I was wrapping myself in knots over a decision. And it was something that I really didn't want to do, but I felt bad about it. And she said, I don't want to, or I want to is a good enough reason.
Okay.
And I literally had to go lie down after that because I was like, what? But
Wonderful.
It was liberating.
Nice.
So I think that's the best piece.
And don't worry, people, we'll get some entrepreneurial tips before we finish. But we want to find out about energy. We're going to twist her legal arm a little to see if we can get her on again to get a little bit deeper dive. But we just wanted to have her share herself with you today. And the results are already there, folks. Don't worry. The receipts are there. Another conversation piece. If you were to do this over again, what would be the first thing that you would do?
That's a great question. What's the first thing I would do? I would document systems from day one. I think even when it was just me, even when there was very little help, if I had written down and had been conscious of what I was doing, it would have made it easier as I grew to be able to have those systems documented ahead of time. So that's what I would do differently.
Okay. What do you love about what you do these days?
I really am enjoying the business side of things, which is, I've always been interested in business, but I don't have an MBA, don't come from a long entrepreneurial family. I really am enjoying learning how to be a leader and how to coach the people on my team, how to create systems, how to do financial review, like how to be a financial steward of the business. The CEO aspect of it is relatively new, but fascinating to me. So I'm really enjoying learning about that.
Are you a curious person?
Always.
I knew if I heard no about that, I go, okay, that doesn't make sense. Like the last 45 minutes, I'm hearing curiosity all over. Always.
Listen, I got teased as a kid because I used to read the dictionary and read the encyclopedia.
Oh my.
Like from cover to cover. If you remember those old Encyclopedia Britannicas,
Yes, the hard covers. Yeah.
Our children don't know anything about that because they just Google everything. But we had a set of Encyclopedia Britannica. And if I've always want to know. I'm always curious about, this is probably not what you asked, but I also feel this helps a lot in business, because if you approach your business with a curious and experimental approach, as opposed to like, this has to work. I really approach a lot of my projects as, I wonder what would happen if we did this. And I kind of divorce myself from the outcome because it's an experiment. If it works, wonderful. If it doesn't, what have I learned? Okay, we're not going to do it this way again. But I feel that helps keep the joy and the fun and the kind of innovation in business, as opposed to and keeps you curious, right? And keeps you innovative as opposed to like attaching so much meaning to every single decision that you make.
Yeah, I've learned that I'm sure a lot of people come to you with a lot of ideas and a lot of things. And there was a time I used to say, "How are you going to do that?" But my first reaction now is, "Wow,"
Yes.
not how.
Yeah. I love that. Yes,
You know?
that's how I approach it as well. Wow. All right.
Nice, nice. Well, folks, we got a few minutes. So now she's going to talk with entrepreneurs, everybody. So now you, because you're going to be back anyways. Let me ask, with clients that approach you, are
Yeah.
there common challenges they
Yes.
come to you with? And we're not going to go deep dive into them, folks. You're either going to have to come back another time, or we're going to put her contact information up. You can
Yeah.
contact her directly. But are there some common things that you hear people coming to you and your firm about?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is contracts, right? And especially if you haven't come from an entrepreneurial background or you traditionally have not been in it, people have an issue with contracts in our community because sometimes it's interpreted as a lack of trust, right? It's like I know you and I trust you and we should be able to do a handshake deal. And so we have issues with people who don't want to use contracts or those who kind of put together their own contract and then it blows up. Um, and those who want to make sure that they're running their business as a serious business and have those contracts in place and need a way to present it to the other party, right? Whether it's a client or a team member in a way that honors the relationship. So I always joke that we're like half legal and half coaching because some of it is here's how you present it, here's how you talk about it, here's how you explain it in a way that honors the relationship between you and the other person. But I find that that is the thing that people have the most challenge with. The second thing is appreciating the value of your intellectual property.
Oh, yes. And actually, just a sidebar, I've referred a couple to
Thank you.
Andrea. Well, they're going to be meeting with her in a few weeks' time because they came to and said, like, I won't say what area they're working in. Andrea knows,
Mhm.
and they're really concerned about their intellectual property. And who did everyone tell me to contact? The lady that's beside me on the screen here.
Well,
This one.
this
Go
is the
ahead about
thing.
the and tell people how important that is.
So your intellectual property, see, we think of assets as tangible stuff, right? Cash in the bank or like a building that we own. But the thing, your ideas, your brand, your reputation, the content that you create, the information you create, all of that is valuable intellectual property. And the issue is when we don't value it, we send a message to the world that we don't value it, and people start to copy your stuff and steal it, and it dilutes your reputation in the marketplace. It also, if we're talking about building businesses as an asset, one of the huge assets, if you've ever been involved in any type of like business deal, you'll see that there's a line item on the budget for goodwill, right? Like, and if you haven't protected it, if you haven't protected your reputation and your brand, it's difficult to sell it to anyone else because why would someone buy what's easily available?
Mhm.
So when people want to talk about, oh, I want to have a franchise or I want a license, the very first thing that you have to do is identify your intellectual property and protect it because you can't sell what you don't really own, right? And it's not going to add to the value of your business if you don't protect it. But the number one thing is identifying it. Sometimes I find as business owners, things that come really naturally to us and easy to us, we assume that everyone else knows. So it's like, it's not valuable enough to protect because everyone knows this. No, but that's what people think because it comes
I
so
no,
easily
no.
to them.
Well, but I think also, and this is something I have to share with a lot of people, they don't know their value.
Yes. Yeah.
So they're not going to get to intellectual property when they don't recognize their own value that they have in the market. And
Exactly.
hey, I'm one of those. A few years ago, yeah, but now it's a whole different ball game.
I see the TM.
No,
No, you have to. You have to.
and yeah, it's people don't recognize it, and this is where you help people get from the forest so they can see the trees.
That's exactly it. That's exactly. We really take a holistic approach. And I come from the position of let's have wealth and business success and also How can it be easy? So I'm not saying that we don't have to work hard and we don't have to make good decisions,
But work
but they
smart.
are work smart. And one of the ways of doing that is leveraging the assets that you have. The first time that I sold a template, I was like, I don't have anything else to do. Like that's intellectual property that literally sold itself. I didn't have any other work to do. Someone bought it, and then it kept happening. And I was like, this is amazing. I want to do this all the time. That feeling to wake up to like notifications that you don't have anything else to do is amazing. Right. But that's what allows us to really generate multiple streams of income
Yes.
and do it without us having to exchange time for money.
Yep.
So that we can have this wealth and still have a life where we can work in our and contribute to our community, where we can be with our children or our family. That's what's really important to me. And intellectual property is a huge part of that.
Wow. What is from, okay, actually, I'm going to come back to you. How did you overcome the fear and the little voice in your head that was there earlier on
Yeah.
to be where you are today?
Honestly, the cancer helped a lot because it was a reminder that life is short and that you really have to prioritize the things that you want to do. So I think that helps a lot in terms of the shift. And also I felt like, I have three, not as young now, but at the time, three younger children. And I really felt like I owed it to them. I was like, these are certain gifts that God have given me. I've had the benefit of, a great memory. I've had the advantage of great education. Like I need to take these tools and do something to make my children proud of me. And so when I approached it through like the legacy angle, it made it less hard to make the important decisions and to go for it. And then also, success begets success. So the first time you try something and it works out, you're like, oh, let me try something else. And, oh, okay. And it doesn't always work out. Like there are things that I try that don't work out. But the more you learn to trust your own decisions and your own gut and go with that, I think it becomes kind of a self-rewarding thing and you start to trust yourself more. And
Intuition.
that's it.
You work
I'm
that
listening
intuition.
to it.
Yeah.
I do. I
Wonderful.
do.
Wonderful. I know you outline things like intellectual property and things like that. Outside of that, is there one thing that, okay, actually, let me pull that back. What has, from your lens, the last 2 years been like for Black entrepreneurs?
Oh my goodness. It's really been a mixed bag because there are some Black entrepreneurs, especially people who were online at the beginning of the pandemic, whose businesses just exploded, right? If you were already if you were already focusing online and you were able to fulfill those needs, I had clients who tripled their sales in 2020
Wow.
because they were online and people now were looking online as opposed to them having to compete, excuse me, with bricks and mortar retailers before. But for other people, especially those in anything that required you to be in person, and we have a lot of people in the beauty industry and the restaurant industry
Yeah.
suffered heavily,
Yes.
gyms,
And
anything
are continuing to,
are
because we're
continuing.
in Ontario right now. Restaurants and gyms are shut down for another 2
Yeah,
weeks.
yeah, at least.
At least, exactly, at least.
Yeah. So it's been rough for people whose business it's been difficult to pivot. But even with that, it to me has been really heartwarming and encouraging to see people, okay, this is what's going on. I have to find a different way to generate an income. And for example, I've had clients who have salons who decided to do hair care products instead and then started doing that for other salon owners, right? Created a whole new source of revenue. I had a client who's a personal trainer who runs a gym, and they started a course for other personal trainers to learn how to develop or to deliver their services virtually and made a ton of money because everyone was looking to do that. So entrepreneurs are resilient and innovative, and I trust that we will continue to be so even in really difficult circumstances.
How do you make it happen with 3 kids? How have you,
um,
and how are you continuing to
yeah,
make it happen with 3 children and being a breast? Like
yeah,
you're we should put MO at the last of your name, Master Overcomer.
yeah. That's it's funny because at the beginning of was it 29? I think beginning of 2020, before we all knew all of this, I had a conversation with the universe, and I was like, "Wow, I've had lots of opportunities to develop strength and resilience, and also love some fun and joy and relaxation. Let's try that." Um, the kids, I'm really fortunate that my mother lives with me. This mother who's the retired school teacher,
Yeah.
and she helps a lot with the children. I have pictures from when I first started and the kids being in the boardroom of the place that I was renting. I've always told them what I'm doing, and I've always made them feel part of the journey and that this is a family endeavor. I may be the
Good.
one who's like talking to clients,
Yeah.
but this is a full family thing. And so, my oldest knows when they need to look after the younger one so that I can do this interview, for example. Like, it's a family pull together.
Mhm.
They came when we were doing renovations over the winter that you know about. They came and they were helping to like pull up the carpet and carry things out. Like, it's always been a this is for us, so we all need to pull together. And I find that that has helped. And also, they've seen the increase, right? They've seen what it was like when we started, and
Yep.
they've seen what life is like now,
Yep.
and they understand that they have a more comfortable life because of it. And so, generally speaking, not always, but generally speaking, they're willing to chip in.
What from all your journey, professionally, personally, what is one hidden pitfall that you feel or you hear or see that prevents
Mhm.
people from succeeding?
Self doubt, self doubt. Um, and it breaks my heart sometimes when I speak to people and I'm like, this is such an amazing idea. And they're like, you sure? You don't think so? But it's people who stay in situations that they don't really want to be in because they don't trust themselves to do what it is that they really want to do. And that to me is the sad thing because these are people who've been given great talents and gifts for this world, but whether it's because of family upbringing or society or culture or a long legacy from ancient days of what's happened to us as a people can conspire to make you feel that you were not good enough to do this. I remember when I quit my job, excuse me, my mom was like, my mom was not happy, very traditional
Of
Caribbean
course.
woman. And she was like, what? How
You're
are
mad?
you?
You're
Right.
mad?
How are you going to find clients? I'm like, I don't know. The same way how my boss finds them. They must be out there. Right. But it's the belief that you are good enough and that you can do. I've always thought if I can see somebody else do it, I would not have been good. So like with President Kennedy and the Man on the Moon, if I've never seen anyone else do it, that might give me a little bit of pause. But if I've seen one other human being do it, I'm like, well, if they've done it, I must be able to figure out a way to be able to do it. And so that's what I really want for some of the people that I speak to is to develop that trust in yourself that you can figure it out.
What's next? What's next in the journey?
So there's some things I can't reveal yet, but there's some
No
stuff that's
problem.
going to be coming in March. Um, I really want to expand and to have more people have that experience. I also want to work with younger lawyers. So I remember what it was like coming out of school, not necessarily finding a place in traditional, the Canadian legal environment and not knowing what to do and getting really bad advice. Like, I mentor a few younger lawyers, and one of them was saying, oh, people tell us all the time, you should go work with some of the older lawyers and they'll give you the stuff that they don't want to do. And I know that's advice that they give young lawyers all the time. I think it's horrible advice. Why would you want to build a practice on the basis of what other people discard? But again, it's that belief in self, right? That you deserve really good clients as opposed to the cast off. So that's coming. Being able to mentor more young lawyers in our community and help them to be able to set up practices that are financially successful and also in alignment with their values.
Any final words after the Andrea Masterclass today?
I would say it's really important to be clear on what it is that you really want to do and not let outside circumstances dissuade you from the thing that you really want. Because it's been my experience, it might take longer than you want, but it's been my experience that when you truly want something and you admit to yourself that you want something, you think about it constantly, that you will receive the resources. You will see the path, even if it's not immediately available. The key thing is to be honest with yourself about what you really want out of life.
Nice bow. Ladies and gentlemen, citizens of the world, Andrea Henry.
Thank you so much for having me.
The pleasure is so much mine. It has been well worth the wait. And folks, if you don't know, you can go on our site and get a consultation. You better hurry up because you're going to have to go behind me. And I know I've had to wait a while to have her on the show. We're willing to wait for my consultation because get ready. The website, henrybusinesslaw.com. And there's also the other website that gives you the templates, the securestartup.ca. Andrea, you and I are going to be doing some more chatting.
Sounds good. This was a lot of fun.
Well, I'm glad that you enjoyed it. I want to wish blessings on you, your family, your team, and your clients, past, present, and future. I'm so excited for you. And I hope that I can be some part of the growth in the positive way down the road.
Thank you. I received that. Thank you so much.
God bless. Peace to well. Keep the faith and remember to give yourself grace. Thank you so much. Great, epic conversation. It was worth my wait. You didn't even know, but it was. I hope it was worth your wait. Also, I'm mumbling over words because I'm so excited. That was outstanding, and we're going to see if we can get her back sooner next time. But I'd like to say, as always, thank you for watching live or on the replay. Thank you for listening on the replay. It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations. And I'm the host of Epic Conversations 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. Also, host the only online conversation in the world for fathers and dads that is co-sponsored by Dove Men Care. It's also sponsored by Dad Central, Canada's national fatherhood organization. And again, through that collaboration last year, we were able to reach out directly and indirectly to over 100,000 fathers around the world. And we're going for more this year. We're going to go bigger and better this year. As I close, as always, I say, live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions, then aim bigger, aim better. Aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. And remember to give yourselves grace. Thank you to BIA Media for another great production job. God bless. Peace well. Keep the faith and walk good. We'll see you next week. We'll have our roundtable, our bi-weekly roundtable, and you can catch me during the week. Follow me on Facebook or YouTube, The Dr. Vibe Show, 9 a.m. Monday and Friday mornings. Co-host The Morning Vibe with Ryan Knight from the Afro-Canadian Business Network. And then on Saturday evenings at 9 p.m., you can catch me hosting State of Things with Aisha and Jill, where they give their takes and thoughts on what's going on, mainly from a social political arenas, in the United States. God bless. Peace be all. Keep the faith and walk good. Bye, everybody.